Today we're going to talk about how you can stop one sin from turning into a lot. If you're not subscribed, please go ahead and do so, and let's get into it.
A little sin can easily start to creep. In the beginning, we were made in his image and given the will to choose him and I, but we were duped in the plot.
So we've talked about how the Bible uses leaven as a metaphor for sin, and sin just means breaking God's law or doing something he doesn't want us to do. Today we're going to briefly look at how sin started, how it spread, and how we can guard against it. Romans 5:12 says, "Therefore, just as sin came into the world through one man, and death through sin, and so death spread to all men because all sinned." So the Apostle Paul explained how sin originated with Adam, and that sin and the consequence of death spread to all people because they were his descendants. But as we've seen in our previous studies, Jesus was the only one who was unleavened and came and died for us because he was perfect, and now anyone who puts their trust in him will be saved. Now, once we do believe in him, how do we stop sin from contaminating our lives? Well, one main strategy the Bible gives us is to simply cut it off, or just get rid of it or kill it. So this is a no-nonsense type of approach. For example, when Jesus taught on sin in Matthew 18, 8 through 9, he said, if your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. Or if your eye causes you to sin, pluck it out. Wow, seems a little overkill, right? No, and that's the point. Jesus is trying to tell us to take sin very seriously. And of course, he's not being literal about cutting your hand off or actually plucking your eye out, but he's exaggerating to make a point that we need to be intentional at fighting against sin and that we should not put ourselves in tempting situations. Paul also gave very serious counsel to the Corinthian church who were dealing with a member that was committing very evil sexual sins. He told them that they should have already dealt with it by removing the person from the congregation. This is what he said in 1 Corinthians 5, 6 through 8. Your boasting is not good. Do you know that a little leaven leavens the whole lump? Cleanse out the old leaven that you may be a new lump as you really are unleavened. For Christ, our Passover lamb, has been sacrificed. Let us therefore celebrate the festival not with the old leaven, the leaven of malice and evil, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. So continuing with the pattern that we've seen through the Bible, Paul uses leaven to represent malice and evil, and unleavened bread to represent sincerity and truth. And notice when Paul said cleanse out the old leaven, he said get rid of it completely. So as believers, we need to be intentional about removing sin from our lives, because number one, it's the correct response to the fact that Jesus was our Passover lamb and he died the death that we should have died. He sacrificed himself for us that we could live. And number two, by doing so, shows that our faith is actually sincere and true. So how do we do this in a practical way? Well, this may mean being careful what we watch, what we listen to, where we go, who we constantly hang out with, because those are all factors that can influence us towards sin. And even if it's in a little or subtle way, we got to be careful because a little leaven leavens the whole lump.
A little sin can easily start to creep. In the beginning, we were made in his image and given the will to choose him and I, but we were duped in the plot.